Hello, Scotty Reed here with a Black Talk Radio news report and commentary. And in this particular commentary, we are taking a look at a story that was shared with me by one of the supporters and listeners of Black Talk Radio Network. Shout out to Rodney P for sharing this story. We're asking a question. Is this bill that these three black members of the U.S. Senate introduced to make lynching a federal crime, is this symbolism or is it substance? So you got Cory Booker here. You have Senator Tim Scott out of South Carolina, and out of California, you got Senator Kamala Harris. So they introduced this bill, which is called Justice for Victims of Lynching Act of 2018. And as it states here, as I pulled it, and I have had an opportunity to review the bill, and it is to amend Title 18 United States Code to specify lynching as a deprivation of civil rights and for other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. Section 1, short title, this act may be cited as the Justice for Victims of Lynching Act of 2018. Section 2, findings. Congress finds the following. The crime of lynching succeeded slavery as the ultimate expression of racism in the United States. So already I got a number of issues with this. All it's going to do is introduce into federal hate crime codes one word: lynching, when federal hate crimes or lynching is already covered in federal hate crimes under bodily injury, to kill someone, to attempt to kill someone. I mean, why not just add knifing or shooting or running over with a car or bombing? All of those methods were used to terrorize black people in the 1800s. And I've been reading the bill and reading some of the commentary surrounding the bill, and like this is supposed to right some injustice. It's not. People getting shot more than they're lynched. Every once in a while. I think I read a story about a biracial boy where some other children put a rope around his neck. That was described as a lynching, but it's not like during the days of Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a tireless activist out there fighting against lynching. And there actually has been some laws against lynching put on the books out there in California. Speaking of Kamala Harris, in the 1930s, they passed the anti-lynching bill. But guess what the bill was passed for? To protect the police from mob violence, not to protect those in police custody who were going to be lynched. But no, you have this instance, this thing that happened in California some ways back in the 1930s, where I guess a white mob wanted to lynch some black person or Mexican American or Chinese American and wanted to lynch them, or Chinese immigrant and wanted to lynch them. So they broke into the jail and they ended up lynching a couple of the deputies and what have you. That was California's anti-lynching law. And I have been reading some articles about how now those anti-lynching laws in California, that very same law is being used to lynch activists by district attorneys and what have you, to get them to stop engaging in counter-racist, counter-slavery efforts and what have you. So I'm leaning on the side of symbolism, because all the bill does is just add lynching. Lynching is covered by bodily harm. You murder someone, it doesn't matter if you shot them, stabbed them to death, bludgeoned them to death. Well, this is symbolism. This isn't something that they should be spending any time on. They should be spending time on calling out President Trump to use what's known as the Patriot Act to go and round up these terrorists under the Patriot Act and try them. Now, I know a lot of people under the Patriot Act have been indefinitely detained or taken out by drones, but I'm not going to call for the President of the United States to use the Patriot Act and related legislation to target white terrorists in this country. But, you know, if I was in Congress, if I was in the Senate, I definitely would be all on Donald Trump every day, all day, about addressing this white terrorism in this country. I read an article earlier today where they were saying that white supremacist organizations have stepped up their recruiting on college campuses. These are terrorist cells. These aren't organizations. These are terrorist cells. And shout out to Antifa. I saw y'all out there in Portland, Oregon, confronting racists in the street. Good job on that. Good job. But yeah, it also says, let's take a look at it again. It also says the crime of lynching succeeded slavery as the ultimate expression of racism in the United States. Well, here's something for these senators. Slavery was never abolished. It's clear in the 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. And of course, we know that was the rise of the legislation also known as black codes, where they started throwing black people in the jails, in the prisons, for no legitimate reason, simply to hire them out to different businesses, whether we're talking about the mining companies or the plantations they might have been recently emancipated from. It's called convict leasing, and slavery has never been abolished. So the 13th Amendment exception clause is a stain on the efforts. So many people gave their lives to try to abolish slavery, to only be betrayed by Abraham Lincoln and those Republicans in Congress who cut a deal with the Confederate traitors and let them back in the Union and allowed them to keep practicing slavery through the 13th Amendment. That's something for those senators to address. Why don't they call for a convention of states or a constitutional convention, however that works, and let's take the exception clause that allows slavery and involuntary servitude out of the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, instead of trying to insert just one word into federal codes that are defined as or named hate crimes. If a person tries to lynch another person and they did it because of their race, ethnicity, religion, whatever, that's a hate crime. It doesn't matter if they ran them over with the car. It doesn't matter if they hung them from a tree. This is nothing but empty symbolism for black voters. Look, black voters, we should be demanding more from these people and not praising them or applauding them for wasting our time. All right, so I told Rodney P that I was going to give my opinions and thoughts on this, make a video about it. There you go, Rodney P. My verdict is this is symbolism. It is not substance. All right. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and leave any comments that you have in the comments section. This has been Scotty Reed of BTR News reporting. Support independent media today by giving a tax-deductible donation to the Black Talk Media Project, which has been providing public digital media since 2008.